I don't think so. We talked. I mean, we talked about it in the chat, but we haven't did the video on it yet.
I didn't see the new
Yeah.
What If episode for today just yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
Nah, I ain't seen it yet.
Oh,
I know it's got
bruh.
something to do with, I think, with Doctor Strange, but
Yes, bro.
I can talk about the first three though.
Bruh.
It's like dark, so be prepared because
Yeah,
the ending it will be what you expect it to be.
Okay,
Ending,
okay.
no.
Right, exactly, bro. I feel like you said, like most of the stuff we seeing now, like especially with that first episode, like I just feel like we could possibly see this in live action, like especially when most of the movies that's teasing on the multiverse, like Doctor Strange 2 or like anything going forward with that. Like, I feel like we can possibly see a glimpse of these characters actually for real. I feel like just giving us a little teaser, even with the Watcher, like even the dude, I feel like we could possibly see him. Cause like if we have these cosmic characters that's gonna be messing like with fabric of reality, I know the Watcher gonna have to step in and do something about that. Cause like that's usually what he end up doing. Like when somebody breaks some type of rule or something that's based off time or anything like that, he basically have to step in and let something be known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like what they do in this animated series though, cause it just seemed like we haven't got no content for a minute besides when that Loki came out. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I feel like they just teasing just glimpses of this multiverse, and I feel like once we see this new Spider-Man that's coming out, I think actually even with the Shang-Chi that come out, we'll probably see a glimpse of multiverse too. You'll never know, cause I think they showing the 10 rings and like that, so you'll never know what connection that might have to it. So I'm actually interested to see how that's gonna turn out too, cause at first I had no idea about Shang-Chi, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking it's like a Bruce Lee or Marvel or something.
Right.
I had no idea what to expect at first.
I like the anthology because if nothing else that we get from this anthology series, if nothing else we get besides seeing the hypotheticals of these characters, that would be fine with me because I'm like, hey, this is just a cool story. It's like a filler. It's a filler series between the big franchise movies and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. But then I seen the first episode. And I was like, damn, that was good. I was like, I would mind seeing a movie about her or something.
Right, for real, bro.
Like her coming back.
Damn, good show.
No lie, like this What If series, I don't think it's going to
It's
necessarily be directly in
mind-blowing.
MCU. Because in here, I'll say this: if you actually go onto Disney Plus, go to the Marvel section, and if you actually go into the timeline order, the What If series, I think I want to say it's like after Loki. I think it is. I think that's where they're trying to place it, like in chronological like timeline order. So I'm not necessarily sure like if they're gonna do like the different like universes and do a spin-off of that, or what are they gonna do? Because if they do that, they're like you said, because if you look at each episode, they're all taking place in a different universe.
Yeah.
It's not in the same one. It's all different. And I'm not gonna lie, the third episode was kind of I wasn't really feeling the third one too much. First two was actually pretty good.
Everybody got taken off.
I'll be honest with you. I love that third one because most people don't really. I mean, have everybody seen it? Because I don't want to spoil it too much. Have everybody seen the episode? Right? I'm about to say because I'm about to go into spoilers for a minute.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I got to episode 3.
Okay, all right. Because most people don't really show how deadly Ant-Man or Yellow Jacket can be just in general. Usually when they brought up Ant-Man, most people wasn't really into it compared to all the Avengers. I know he ain't really nothing compared to all the Avengers, but they showed you how deadly this man can be and just how, you know what I'm saying, how much he can pull strings and stuff. Like, that's what I liked about what they showed in this. Because I had no idea it was going to be him until they showed the part when Hawkeye did the thing. Because I'm like, how did he kill Thor with that? I'm like, something just it threw me off with that. So I'm like, I knew something was up because I immediately thought of that scene from Civil War when he was on the what's that Civil War when he was on his Hawk, when he was on his arrow, when he was shooting at I think it was War Machine.
Yeah, that was Civil War.
So I was like, that's a mute. I think I'm like, but that can't be him because they didn't really bring up that until they brought up the situation with Hope and all like that. So I'm like, I like how they put their spin on, but it was like a version of Yellow Jacket, I believe, of who Hank Pym was playing. So yeah. So I was like, bro. I like how they used him in that.
His villain side.
Exactly, bro. That's why I was like, I like the way they went with that.
Abilities, like the huge gap of ability between Hank Pym and not Paul Rudd.
Well, Scott Lang.
Hank Pym and the other new Ant-Man.
Scott Lang.
You can see a huge difference in ability. Like, bro, he took them out instantly. And like, I liked it because I felt like that could be like in that reality, That's plausible. But if we know what we do know currently about the skill set and the power set of Ant-Man and Hulk and all these people, and how they didn't see him coming, so he was, a surprise attack, and he did like Batman on them. He got all the weaknesses, and I was like, you know what? This episode, I wouldn't want to see like a second one about it. I wouldn't care to see a second one about it, but I was like, they could have made something else in that episode for sure. But I wasn't tripping too much, especially compared to like getting this last episode. I was like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this one, though. I think the third episode was because it's not necessarily Ant-Man. He's actually as Yellow Jacket, so that's why all his abilities are very different. Yeah. But overall, it was just kind of like, okay. I mean, it's one thing to, kill off, like, all of the members who were supposed to be in the Avengers. And, I mean, if you look back at the comics, like, with the Fantastic Four who really initiated the Avengers and everything, there's plenty of Avengers that you can really pick from. Yeah. But as far as the MCU, I'm like, you guys are kind of not necessarily going all over the place, but they're definitely like, okay, like they're taking a whole new spin to it, and now it's kind of like, okay, what else is what else can be next? Yeah. And the fact that Fury still called upon Captain Marvel, I'm like, so what is this big thing that he's trying to do now with Captain Marvel? Because he's calling her way too early. Yeah. Right. Compared to, from the MCU, he's calling her way too early. We're talking like damn near a decade, like a decade early.
That is true.
So that's why I'm like, I'm not really sure like where they were trying to go with it.
I think they were
that one definitely left the question mark though. That one definitely left the question.
Yeah, but I feel like they were just trying to show like, cause we at a point now in the MCU where it's like we actually seen our heroes avenge the other heroes. Like we actually see them win after we thought they just took a L. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like that episode was basically showing you like, what if it was just the opposite of that? Like, if they actually just died from the very beginning, like, if it wasn't, like, no build-up to none of this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like but the way they caught, because at first, there definitely had to be somebody pulling the strings with it, because I feel like how they was doing it, like, how Tony was the first one they killed off, and then the way they killed off the Hulk really, like, for them to put that in the animated was kind of like, dang, I didn't expect them to do like that. Was kind of like, that kind of blew me away with that one. I did not expect that one at all, because I'm like, how can you kill him? And then how they explained how deadly he can be, how he killed him. I'm like, bruh, I ain't gonna lie, I like the way they did that, because I was kind of confused. Like, how could he kill Thor off? How could he kill off the Hulk? I was like, it completely threw me off.
Thor, the Thor, the Hulk. I mean, Thor died by an arrow, but he was like, he still, because the only thing he didn't have, he just didn't have the power of Mjolnir. But I'm like, he was still an Asgardian, and like he still had.
The only way they killed the Hulk, the only way they killed anything was because it was Ant-Man. Like, no one else could have done that. Like, no one could have been able to research the Hulk. I think I was talking to Solomon about this. I was like, how he must have known that the Hulk can only get bigger when he gets angry. And if he's not angry, if you can't see him, if the Hulk can't see you, he can't get angry after the opponent. Yeah. She just jumped in there. Like, I was like, that's really smart to do.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of the people, a lot of the Avengers, if they would have known there was an enemy, Ant-Man would have never won. Even him being that side, he would have never won. Tony Stark would have blasted him. Thor would have shocked him. Like, it would have never happened. But him being so small and him knowing that information, like Batman's information, I was like, bro, I wouldn't even thought of that before.
Right, I feel like that was the whole purpose of that. The whole purpose of that episode, bro. That's why I liked about it, because it shows you like this dude can be dangerous too, bro. It shows you how dangerous he can be as like when you use that technology and all like that. So I definitely like that.
You know what? I think it shows, because from episode 2 and 3 there was something I call. So we see a hero turned villain who seemed to have way more abilities, and in episode 2 with T'Challa Star-Lord, we see how nerfed Thanos can be when he's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he was getting whooped by freaking Black Dwarf.
Yeah, Black Dwarf, right? Yeah.
But it's like, and I don't know. To me, that was like the only thing that didn't make sense. I'm like, this boy is the Mad Titan. I mean, he could literally body the Black Order, but he was getting served by 2 of the members. You know what I'm saying? And almost died.
I mean, if you kind of look at it though, it's because he didn't feel a need to really train like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm about to say.
If you think about it, if he would have tried to piece up with Hulk, he'd have got pieced up.
Right,
Exactly.
for real.
He had a 3-piece and a biscuit with that one. I ain't gonna lie.
Exactly.
When he was a Titan, and he did world conquering before he met T'Challa. So he met T'Challa while he was doing world conquering.
Exactly.
And T'Challa gave him a better, goal.
View. Yeah. But
So I think, okay, maybe he ain't as battle ready as the Thanos we know.
yeah.
But I'm like, damn, he can take one of them. I'm like, what the hell, man?
Exactly. That's why I was like,
That's the whole thing, because T'Challa really calmed him down.
Right,
That's
even
the
though
whole
he
thing.
still had it on his
T'Challa
mind.
really had to
Yeah,
bring
no,
his
but-
blood pressure down.
Right.
yeah. But exactly. I mean, and I get it. Like, I get like whatever. Like, what if, right? Like, what if he was weaker or something? Or whatever. What if he had to change your heart too early? Like, but I mean, at the same time, it's like, I mean, he was still grown. He was still grown Thanos. Like, it wasn't like T'Challa found him when he was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Like he already had to like conquer and stuff, and then he was like, well, you know what? Because Nebula, like Nebula didn't have her like parts replaced. That's why she looked so good. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's
I
true.
think, yeah. So this is what it is. That's the opposites of folks.
When you say Solo?
I said, so this what if is showing us like the opposite of folks and everything, and then also
Yeah.
like the whole like Nebula and Gamora thing. They never had that sister beef because,
Right, because Thanos.
Thanos wasn't being that ruthless.
Right.
exactly. So,
I thought it interesting that they did not show Gamora in that episode.
Yep.
Yeah, I found that interesting for sure.
That was my thing. 'Cause I'm sitting here wondering, like, I wonder if by the time T'Challa found Thanos, he didn't invade Gamora's home planet and pick her up. I'm wondering. That's kind of what I was wondering. I'm like, if that's probably why they didn't really have much of that beef.
yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
Because you know what? They never specified if Thanos found Gamora first, even though Gamora is older. They never specified if they found her first or Nebula. But I know that's what, Thanos being good means that he never experimented on his daughter, messed her up or everything.
Exactly.
Which means she's like, oh, I'll be fine. So,
Right.
That's the thing too, because then if you look at it from that point of view, if he's not doing that to Nebula, he couldn't do it to Gamora either, because Gamora has enhancements too.
Yeah.
And that's why she's actually, like, as good as she is. It's because of the training, yeah, but it's also because she does have some enhancements. That's why Nebula has some more, because Gamora kept stealing on her.
That's true. Yeah.
And they would be training. So that's why Nebula doesn't have so much. It's probably because he never went to go get Gamora.
Yep.
But I think that what's that part with the Collector? Because if you remember, Collector had most of all, like literally all the weapons from the universe up, like in his collection, damn near. Like
That boy,
he literally had damn near every weapon at that point. It's crazy how I found it funny how all the weapons he had, he still chose to like any weapon from Asgard. He just went with that, and like he just said, I'm gonna just go with Hela. Like out of all the weapons he did, he just seemed like he had too much love and respect for Asgardians. It seemed like. That's something I just
I think
noticed.
that's probably because Asgardians were like everywhere. Like Asgardians are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, they're supposed to be like overseeing the 9 realms or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I ain't gonna lie. If they supposed to be overlooking the 9 realms, I'm trying to figure out why they worried about Mortal Kombat. But anyway, that's besides the point. So with that being said, it's like, okay, like he probably knew that Asgardians are some of the strongest beings in the universe. As far as maybe some of the abilities that they have, how long they can live, could be something along the lines of their weaponry. So it could be all those different things for why the Collector is like, nah, I need to take them out, but also take their abilities. So I don't remember seeing because Loki's helmet wasn't there, like none of those things was there.
No, I didn't see, but they didn't necessarily show what was in it, but if you look at all them cases he had, it's clearly he had different type of weapons. They didn't necessarily just show what was in it, but he clearly had most of people's weapons from that universe that was like in his like possession at that point. It seemed like in that universe, it seemed like it just seemed like he just chose to go with Asgardian weapons out of all, because it was really like thousands of drawers behind him. He just chose one. It's just nothing but Asgardian weapons up in here. That's why I was kind of like, that was interesting to me out of all the weapons that's up in there. But like you said, they could be the most strongest ones there. So that's probably why he obviously went to choose like Hela's helmet and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not as strong as vibranium, but I mean, it'll still get the job done.
Hold on, wait. So, in terms of we talking about in terms of the suit that T'Challa used and the hammer would that still be the case? Like, because I'm about to say, would he be overpowered by Panther if that was the case? Or he can't with that?
I think if it was to be a Thor versus Black Panther fight, part of me would still want to say that Thor would win. Because even though the suit is partially made of vibranium, when you watch Black Panther fight, you can still hear him grunting and all that. So that means things do still hurt.
Yeah.
Like, he does feel it. So, but I mean, if Thor's going at him, that's going to be one thing. And actually, because then if you look back at Avengers, when it was Thor against Captain America, the whole shield is vibranium. So that's why Cap wasn't too fazed by it, because it's like, okay, I'm guarding myself with the shield. That's why he was unfazed by it. But because the Black Panther suit is intertwined with it, there's like great fabric and threads and then there's vibranium with it. That's why he can still feel all those things.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I believe Thor would, at least for me, I believe Thor would win that battle.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie
plus
though.
Mjolnir, because Milner is a star, man. So, it's like getting hit with that thing. Was it the force of like 30,000 exploding stuns or something like that? It's like, it's just, come on now. It's a force that really can't be touched, really.
Right.
And the only reason why I say Thor would win is because it's not due to Black Panther's suit not being strong enough. Because from what I understand, although he has fibers in his cloth fibers, they're like vibranium cloth fibers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
He had full vibranium because when he was getting shot at by the Quinjet, bouncing off, he was looking at it like it's nothing in Civil War. But those are bullets. It's not Thor's hammer.
Exactly.
Thor's hammer hits you, he might take a run of it, but you gonna feel that.
Yeah, exactly.
And more than that, also, Thor could shoot lightning at him, and the suit never technically was proven to disperse energy or disperse lightning.
That's true.
So who knows? But I think that hand-to-hand combat, Black Panther would win. If Black Panther knew he was gonna fight that Thor, Black Panther would win. But if they just fought like the men and fought, Thanos would Thor would win. I think. The fact that he's OP like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I just thought about it too. Mjolnir was in the Collector's Vault, wasn't it?
Yeah. Most of the Asgardian weapons that was up in.
I'm trying to remember. He didn't use the hammer against T'Challa, right?
No.
Right.
Do you think it's because he possibly knew that T'Challa would be worthy enough to wield it?
Probably.
Oh, that's a good theory right there.
He ain't worthy enough.
Exactly.
But then how did he get it?
Well, as we've seen before, the hammer could hang on like a coat rack.
Yeah.
It could go in an elevator up and down or whatever, right? But it can't be wielded by someone who ain't worthy.
Yeah.
That means somebody still had to pick it up and put it there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know it was the whole funny conversation about it with Captain America. And,
Was that the end of Age of Ultron?
Right.
I don't know how that happened. I have no idea. But all I do know is I can't wield it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It could. You know what it could be? It could even very well be the fact that Thor.
That the rules are different.
The rules are different, and here's why I say that, because when you watch Thor, nobody would be able to you see Thor wielding the hammer. That's because it's his. But I believe at that time, anybody could wield it because his dad did not put the spell on it to say it's like, what was it, like, he so was worthy shall have the power of Thor. He didn't put that spell on it until after he casted him out.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So now because of that, which is why I'm kind of like, okay, maybe he didn't want to use it against T'Challa because of some things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So yeah, you can see it is there. That's why I'm like I don't know if he didn't want to use it because maybe something up on there would like mess up against T'Challa, because that would have been lightweight an OP weapon, to keep it real. That is lightweight been OP.
Yeah, he had. I think he had Thanos' sword too. He used up in Endgame too, the spinning one.
Yeah.
He had that one too. But that's what I'm saying. All the weapons he had, he chose Hela. But she is like in turn, she represents the goddess of death. So I think that's probably why he just chose that one.
I ain't gonna lie. I would have loved to see Hela and Thanos together with the gauntlet, because it's not Lady Death, but because she's the goddess of death. That would have been a nice little spin to it. I would have enjoyed that. I would have enjoyed that.
But didn't they actually have an interaction like that?
I would have thought that was creative. I would have thought that.
Yeah, that would be crazy though. I mean, like I said, we can possibly see a glimpse of that. We in this multiverse now, so you'll never know what point in time they'll go, what part of the universe they'll go to. We can possibly see that happen. Like, you'll never know.
Yeah,
because it's a what if.
Hey, for
it's
real.
What if?
True that.
What if Hela was Lady Death?
but here's the thing though. Also, we have to consider even if she was, would Thanos be intrigued by her? Because he's not the same Thanos, so he might not be in love with death anymore like that.
I guess the question is which Thanos we talking about.
I would say it's a whole different one.
You'll probably have to be a different one if it's from a different universe.
Yeah, that's true. What if?
Right. But I like how they represent it. It's like they always kept respect for that T'Challa kid, even when he's as Star-Lord. Like, because when you watch Peter Quill play Star-Lord, he was just not respected. Bro. Like, in the beginning, like, he really had to earn that.
He was wealthy.
Right.
And that's because he had those values instilled in him.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the outside world that could really alter that. But then when you look at T'Challa, when we look at T'Challa, there's nothing from the outside world that would mess up those values, because that's how Wakanda as a whole really was.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at Quill, like, dude was working at a Dairy Queen.
Right, for real.
Still with the 8-track. You know what I mean? So it's like everything that he probably knew, would be out the window, because by then, his grandparents would probably have been dead, because his mom was still dead. But it was just the fact, like I was saying, it's that nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
And Quill got a big dose of nature. Got a big dose of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Ego was at the end too.
I want to know what happened when Ego came.
Yeah, bro. Because I didn't expect that to happen at the end. How Ego
destroyed that Earth.
That's what it seemed like. It seemed like that's what he was probably trying to implant that into Peter Quill, like, where he was trying to set something up for that. Yeah.
It's like,
that's why you got to go and get T'Challa with the Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
Yeah, because basically Peter Quill had the power of a Celestial, right? Because whatever, from Ego, right? So I wondered, did he take him under his wing, or did he because he looked like he was evil when he saw him, his eyes glowed and he looked like he smiled, I don't know, but, you didn't hear him screaming that or nothing, Look
at it this way. When you watch Guardians 2, in fact, Janae was actually just in there watching Guardians 2. So that's kind of the trip. But when you watch Guardians 2, the only reason why Quill fought against his dad was because he found out that his dad gave his mom brain cancer.
Exactly.
Other than that, he was going to be like, you know what, but my friends, what about them? He's like, no. That's the mortal in you. That's the human in you.
Exactly.
You gotta cast that out. And he was gonna break down and be like, I mean, if it's what Dad wants, and if it's for the good of the colony, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna roll with it. But once he said, that's why it hurt me to put that tumor in your mom's brain, and he just.
Yeah.
Like, you felt that, I was in theater and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Why would you say that, bro?
Why would you say that?
Honestly, he was really this close, bro. If he would have said that, bro.
No.
If he would have said that, Peter would have.
He was close to that. He was like this. He was that close away from it, right there.
Yep.
So what? What was that? It's kind of like what Count Williams was saying, about that football player. What's his name? He was like, man, what if I would have did? Man, what if you just shut the hell up? What if you just shut up, bruh? Come on, Ego. You've been a Celestial for how long? How many years? And you didn't know shut up was a thing.
Exactly. Or to say him, but exactly, like you're Celestial, you're a god, bro. Like you didn't think that what you would have said would have set him off, like
Right.
Like what?
It's crazy to look at. This is EY to all people we talking about. Well, like, that's all.
Right.
That's why I would not respect that at all, especially with MCU. I thought he would be the way they use him in terms of Guardians. I thought he was gonna be used in terms of like a bigger type of villain, but it seemed like they just use him as a villain in terms of like in terms of Guardians of the Galaxy. But like you said, this is Ego we talk about, so I'm like, I don't know if they'll probably because ain't that's part of they play some part of the Eternals too, like most of them Celestials and all like that. So I'm like,
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, like it was weird because the reason why I didn't think Ego was Celestial until they said it in the movie. I was like, he looked, first off, he looked way different because like all the Celestials looked like big robots. He like looked like a human, and then like he had like his what do you call that? Like not his aura, but his whatever.
Like the big brain thing.
Yeah, it was like electricity, bro. It was like weird. Like it was like energy. I was like, oh, so it just threw me off as far as like how like the Celestials like looked and like the powers they actually had. It just was weird.
man.
I think kind of how they took the approach of Ego as far as Guardians 2 goes. I think it's because like if you think about it, like he was supposed to have been with a lot of other species as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I mean, if you look at it, he can cast himself into anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why it's kind of like, okay, I think that's the reason why we see him so much as human is because that's just how he is. But that whole planet is Ego.
Yeah, that's true.
Henceforth, that's why he has a big ego, which is why he said what he said to Quill.
Yeah.
But other than that, like as far as him being a Celestial, that's why you probably have to look into this a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
When he said, you mean
Wait, does it
like
say
a
he's
god?
Celestial?
Say what?
Does it ever say that Ego is a celestial?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
he did say that he's a Celestial, and this is what I was gonna get into. You have to like really peep this now, because if he's a Celestial, remember when he said like, Quill was like, "You mean like a god?" And he was like, "Little G, son, little G."
Yeah.
He's a little Celestial,
Yeah.
like not just in terms of our god, but he's like mini. He's a
Yeah.
mini
Yeah.
Celestial.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's mainly why he said little G, son, little G.
Yeah.
Because you got big G, you got big OG up there,
Yeah.
but it's still like nah, like the little one,
Yeah.
the little one, son.
Exactly.
That's why like that, like those little details may actually play somewhat of a part.
Hey, no, they do though, because I mean, you got to think about like the Celestials. They're gods, you know. They're godlike beings, but there's more above them. You know, like you got a lot more above them. Like you have, like from the Celestials, you have, you know, Beyonder, the Living Tribunal, you know, Eternity. You know, you got all those other ones. The one above all. Like, you know, so he is little G pretty much. Like, yeah. So, yeah, that's crazy.
I wanted to mention that I loved how the episode 2 showcased how the universe could be different if one person chose to be better.
Yep.
So, for example, Peter Quill, our main continuity, the universe that we know,
Yeah.
you know, Thanos would have never been evil if Peter Quill was a better person. Let me get there.
Yep.
Spit those facts.
Jonathan mentions nurture and nature. And I'm like, hell yeah, for sure. I want to add on to that sometimes it's the nature of some people, right? So, for example, the nature of T'Challa is like friendship, unity, peace, progressiveness, successfulness.
Yep.
You know, he has a sense of family.
Yep.
Compared to Peter Quill, he was lazy, easy way out. You know, your issue ain't my issue. You ain't my family because I don't know about, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was never the case to where by the time T'Challa stole the Infinity Stone, T'Challa already made a name for himself. He was as popular as Boba Fett in the Star Wars universe. He made a name for himself as this mercenary, who was a mercenary for sure, mercenary for hire, but he had honor. Compared to Peter Quill, no one even knew his damn name.
Right.
Bruh.
That's true. That's true. So
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It
Like,
is.
even the collector knew T'Challa's name. And
Right.
knew T'Challa.
That's how
like,
I
bro,
noticed
the
too,
collector,
right.
you know, and I was thinking to myself, like, this one person being who he is, T'Challa, technically helped save the entire universe by just being him. And I was like, bro, that's perfect. I was like, that's poetry.
Hey, that's why Chadwick is the man, bro.
Yo, he's
Right.
the man.
No, but
Rest in
that's
peace to
that's
Chadwick, though.
exactly. Hey, no, but that's so true though, because if you think about it, bro, T'Challa was taking the orb not for money, not for greed, not for anything, bro. He was taking the orb to for pretty much the greater good. It was just sitting on a and then Peter was taking it. Why? Because Yondu and them, the pirates, were trying to
For
pretty
money.
much one up Thanos.
Right.
Bruh, like that right there was just like, dang, that's crazy, bro. And then
Like,
the fact,
you
bro,
mouthpiece, bro, and you have to have some type of glorious purpose for Thanos to quit his main only goal that he had for hundreds of years, bro. He quit his one only goal, bro, for hundreds of years to join your team as the lefty. I was like, bro, you so wrong, bro.
bro, that was another
He
thing, bro.
worked for T'Challa. I was like,
Yep.
Exactly. That was like,
dating his daughter. I'm like, bro, you about one. Oh my man.
oh yeah, I like that, man. I like that.
That's a great point.
Yeah, the Kree, bro. Like the Kree is like one of the most dangerous empires out there, bro. And the fact that the general was like, oh my, he fanboyed over T'Challa, bro.
Right.
No. He was
Right,
like,
right.
oh T'Challa, bro. The soldiers
He's
were
like, I'm gonna be my squad and join your squad if I can.
bruh.
Right. Even when he was about to
That's what
shoot him, he
T'Challa
was
was just
still
like,
honoring him.
what's one more?
Right.
Bruh.
Even when he still knew he had to do his job, he was still trying to honor him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the complete
Exactly, bro.
opposite of how
Like-
they did Peter Quill in the first Guardians, bro. It's like they had, like you said, they had no honor for him.
Yeah, they was
unlike
like, bro, they
T'Challa.
was like, who is this now, bro? Like, we about to clap this boy.
Like,
Like,
when he said his name was Star-Lord,
Right.
they was like, who? Like, we don't know who Star-Lord is, but it was T'Challa said it. They would, you know what I'm saying? As soon as they see him, they immediately know who he was. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what's up, man. Well,
I
shoot,
love
man.
that because it made me believe that like for one, I believe T'Challa as a character, as like a human being character in Marvel is one of the best people in Marvel.
Yeah,
He's,
right.
He in Captain America is like up there regarding like
Yeah.
their integrity, their honor, their moral compass, and all that.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
And to think that like T'Challa alone changed the spirit and the hearts of Thanos because Yondu was a piece of shit too. But in the episode, Yondu seemed like not a piece of shit. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, changed the hearts of Yondu, changed the hearts of pretty much everybody he met to
Yep.
where if y'all noticed in like in the club and at Wakanda, there were other people there that were like respective like ambassadors and shit like that of like their planets and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, bro, really made a empire, really,
Yep.
compared to, and in that time, he, T'Challa did so many things in like 20 years, whereas Peter Quill, it's like, bruh,
Right.
Like,
Right. Bruh.
Yeah.
Like, who are you, bruh?
That
Yeah.
could just play a part to like
That's-
you said,
yeah,
how he was raised. Like, because if you see how before he ended up running out, before Yondu grabbed him out of Wakanda, whatever, like. It just shows like there's basically both they paths, like just the differences between him and Peter Quill. I feel like that's why they use T'Challa, like you said, because he's the most like respectable character in the Marvel universe. So it's like, and you look at, and you know how most people look at Peter Quill to now, especially after Infinity War. It's like everybody hated him, even though that was supposed to happen in the timeline, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah.
like I feel like that's the reason why they probably just went with that route in terms of using just T'Challa
Exactly.
because I was like, why him out of all people? But I'm thinking at this point, I won't say he the most hated, but I'm like, after Infinity War, it just seemed like he is. It seemed like nobody did not like Star-Lord after Infinity War. When you look at T'Challa, even before Chadwick's death, he was like the most lovable character in the Marvel Universe. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they just did a
Yeah.
swap with that. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
you really just reminded me of something, bro. Like, what you just said was spot on, bro. The fact that literally everybody hated Peter Quill, bro. And why did everybody hate Peter Quill, bro? Because if Peter Quill didn't act on his emotions and and learned how to control himself, bruh, Thanos would have never got that stone, bruh. Like they would have got the gauntlet off his hand, bruh. But really, because he wasn't, T'Challa, he ruined everything, literally. So, I mean, that's spot on. Like, it's crazy if you think about it.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I want to know if y'all noticed this. So we know that Doctor Strange looked at, thousands of multiple possibilities regarding the universe. Regarding
14 million of them.
14
14 million. 14 million. And he said it was only one possibility of them winning. But in episode 2, we showed that technically was a second win because Thanos did not kill half the universe.
Yep.
So my question to y'all is, how does both of those instances, how can we make both those instances true? How is that true?
Let me help you out with that one. So, we're going to get into some deep shit now. So now, when you look into this, think of it as, there's different scenarios with this. One, I look at it as when Doctor Strange said that he's seen over 14 million, keep in mind, there's the TVA getting involved because of all the different variations of it. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I feel like Doctor Strange might have been stopped prematurely when he's seen those 14 million because there's an infinite amount of scenarios. It can't all just lead to the same exact thing. There has to be a few of them that kind of at least like intersect, like kind of like what Kang was saying about the time stream, some of them will eventually intersect. There's going to be something that intersects with it by saying, okay, Thanos doesn't win. So going to your point, when you was like, yeah, technically that's a second win, that's another one. But now, does that take place technically out after what Loki and Sylvie did? Or could that possibly have taken, or could the reason why Doctor Strange couldn't see all that is because the TVA would have intervened at some point, or it could even be the standpoint of as well, be like, you know what? Think about it. What was Ego's plan? Genocide.
Yep.
That's what his plan was. Genocide. Who's to say that Thanos wouldn't be like, you know what, Ego? Somebody actually finally agrees with what I was doing. You know what? Me and you should join arms. Me and you should go hand in hand with each other. And he still ends up collecting the stones anyway, because he now knows where they're all at anyway. So they may not necessarily be that there's two. It just means it probably didn't happen yet.
I'm thinking that in the episode 2 storyline that it wasn't going to happen because Thanos seemed like a pretty good guy. He was funny. Even when he wasn't trying to be funny, he was like bonding with his daughter. I was like, what? So I'm like, maybe he's just not going to be evil in the timeline at all. But then that made me think, like, well, if that's the case, then how did Doctor Strange not see this timeline? But that made me ask, maybe he did see this timeline, but this timeline's actions or the things that have to be done can't be applied to our main Marvel timeline. For example,
you got that point as well.
For example, he probably looked at all the timelines from that point on. For example, like T'Challa, for that timeline for Thanos to not kill everybody in episode 2, he would have had to went back and got T'Challa and gave T'Challa to Yondu, which he would have to went back 20 years, but he don't have that power. They don't have that reality bending power. So I think that, to support y'all's statement, I think that he was probably looking at every 14 million whatever timelines from their point on.
Right. And that's why I was saying, that's why I was saying too, I think he got stopped prematurely because, like you said, he's looking at that 14 million from that point, from that centerpiece. But if he would have looked at it previously,
right,
there would have been maybe 60 million different ways.
But to that point, he wouldn't have been able to do nothing about it because he can't change the past. So he would have been able to look at those pasts or looked at the previous possibilities, but he wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. Like, he wouldn't have been able to see, like, oh, if we would have gotten T'Challa on that spaceship, we would have not had this issue. But that's a coulda, woulda, shoulda that he can't apply because, you know what I'm saying? He can't go back.
I don't want to say I disagree with you. I would just say I have a different outlook on it because when you see the Sorcerer Supreme, the way how she altered the time didn't seem like it was just always going forward. It could also be the fact that she looked at the past as well and did some altering there. Because keep in mind, Kang...
I don't know if altered yet. We know that she projected herself there and was like looking into the past and having her spirit talk to Strange, who was going into the past.
It was like
but we don't know if she actually. We have theories. We don't know if she actually put herself in the past to change it.
But she had to, because that's how she got the dark dimension power, right? She had to go back if that was the case, right? But
because she's altering the time, like it could be altering going forward, but. And keep in mind, like Loki is playing a big part in this because of the whole TVA thing. Because we all had the same thought of it was like when Loki was like, well, why am I here and the Avengers aren't? She said, because the Avengers were supposed to do that. Right. So it could very well be the same thing as with the Sorcerer Supreme going into the past and doing all those different things as well. And they're like, oh, she was supposed to do that. So that way Doctor Strange can do what he's supposed to do. So that way Thanos can be stopped, and which is why you are here. Which to me, the TVA is still messed up about that because it's like, bruh, I ain't did nothing. I did what I thought I was supposed to do.
I think that's a good possibility, but that hasn't been proven yet. So that's a hypothetical that could happen because that would make sense. But they haven't shown that they've done that. So if she did go into the past, your reasoning would be the good proof, well, not the proof, but the support on how or why it would make sense, right? You made it make sense. But we don't know if she actually did it yet. So if she did do it, then what you said makes sense. But if not, we don't know yet. So I think that because as we know from Marvel proving your time, if you go back in time and change something, you don't change that current timeline. You make a new one. With the new change.
And that was what Professor Hulk was saying. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily alter that timeline. It alters a totally different one, which is very similar to Back to the Future, actually. Because I know when Scott Lang was like, so what? Back to the Future was a bunch of bullshit? And it's like, not necessarily, because it altered a whole separate timeline, you know?
Yeah.
Right. I think that because of that fact that Marvel put in, you ain't seen the last episode either.
I was about to say, bro, you gotta watch that, bro. Yeah, you definitely watch that.
And with the last episode, it shows that to change time could sometimes be so difficult or impossible. And but if you are successful, you don't never change your own timeline. Because if you think of it like linearly, it already happened. Right? So if me right now went back and changed my timeline from being born in SF to being born in LA, right? That just means there's a timeline too with me being raised in LA because my timeline already happened. So he would have to be looking at like moving forward from them being on that planet on Planet Titan, you know, him, Iron Man, Spider-Man, you know, and all of them, and he's looking and doing all the 14 million. He's looking at like from this linear timeline, without going back to change the path, I looked at 14 million, blah, 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 blah. And only one of them were successful.
Right.
I would say, I would say that without sounding too confusing, which I kind of sound confusing already.
Nah, you spot on. You're good.
Sounds plausible, I think. But I wonder.
I hear you.
I wonder though, like, to your point, bruh, because he was only looking for like, I mean, I'm not gonna put a number. Let's say he was looking for 10 minutes. Let's say he was meditating for 10 minutes and looked at 14 million. You know, I feel like maybe he took another 10 minutes He might have found another one, like 2 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so because we have to realize also that these episodes, these what if episodes, are occurring before Loki. So all the timelines are occurring before Loki, because if it was occurring after Loki, the aspects of that reality would be merging, like how it is in the Spider-Man movie that's about to happen. You feel what I'm saying?
But would it though? Because when you watch Endgame and how they went into the past, it's because of what Loki did there that then altered that future. So to your point, like I see what you're saying, like, you know, like that timeline did happen, but at the same time, the time stream is a big circle. It's gonna end up just kind of like repeating itself at some point. And that's what the whole thing about Kang and the TVA was about, is basically keeping it straight. Because once one thing breaks off, everything else is all messed up. So to that, if the Avengers would have just went 5 years into the past and did something, it'd have been cool. But they did everything within like what was like a 2-3 year time span, because it's not like they went all the way back to like Captain America time in 1940s. They went to 2012, then went to 2014. I think they even went to maybe 2015. They did everything in like a 3 year span.
And what you did yesterday, I know.
No. Because remember, they lost the Tesseract and they had to go back to the time.
You're right. You're right. So because of that, they had to go back to, what was it, the 60s?
Scrawny little punk.
Yeah, so you're right. So because of that, they did have to go back into the 60s and get the Tesseract. But at least what happened in 2012, that changed everything.
60s, one of them.
I'm about to say, what'd you say? I could have barely hear you.
I was just saying that everything happened in a 3 year span, but then Cuzzo was telling me that actually it happened in the 40s, and it happened in the 60s as well, because they had to go back and get the Tesseract because of what happened in 2012, and that's the thing, because then Loki is taking place in a sense in that 2012 year, like that time stream, is in 2012, and we don't even really know exactly like what time or space the TVA is in, but we do know the Loki that's there has the mindset of 2012, not 2018, not 2019.
Right.
So it's because of that, which is why I'm like, yeah, they had to kind of do everything from that standpoint, because at least by then, 2012, they kind of like were just starting to figure out like, okay, there's some next level shit going on.